Okay, so I hear this argument all the time. Well, them Muslims really hate them gays. Maybe in like the Middle East, because Saudi Arabia is super homophobic. But let's just look at this Pew Research Center forms I have. Okay, we're gonna look at them. So this is all the Pew Research Center, and they used to make forms that show that like 50% of Muslims are anti-gay rights and British Muslims. But this is a newer one, okay? They did this in the July 26, 2017. This is the first one I could find. So I'm sorry. Let's see. Majority of Muslims Americans favor the Democratic Party. Yes, that's true. As you look, Democrats at Dem leading is 66%. And I'm going by 2017. It was actually bigger in 2011, though, at 70. But then again, it was also Republicans have the strongest in 2017 with 13%. Also, Muslim men are less likely to vote Democrat than Muslim women, because women tend to vote Democrat. And who knew that the boomers, I guess it was not just boomers, 55 and up Muslims, yeah, they're more likely to vote Democrat, but less likely than the other ages. So I'm gonna do a screenshot of this, I think. There we go. 3 in 10 U.S. Muslims describe themselves as politically liberal, and even then there's a lot of moderates. Most Muslim Americans are U.S. citizens, but many are not registered or did not vote in 2016 election. All U.S. Muslims, U.S. born, foreign born, okay. Yeah, most of them backed Hillary Clinton, and here's the handling of Trump's job, or really any president's job, of if they approve or disapprove. Ooh, we're gonna go to the gay marriage stuff. Uh-oh. Let's see. Most Muslims say Islam and democracy can go together. Wait, do they? U.S. Muslims, 30%. Natural. So a third of Muslims, I guess, are anti-democratic. And there's probably some lying, too. Right. Let's see what else. Like Americans overall, Muslims are more accepting of homosexuality. So most people in America are like, yeah, I'm not gay, but I don't mind if gay people exist. So Muslims are way more, I guess Muslims are going to be better at stuff like homosexuality. Actually, so I heard that they're more accepting now than white evangelical Christians, but I don't know. So U.S. Muslims, 52% are fine with think that homosexuality should be adopted. So it's still kind of scary, but at least we know it's on the right track. Let's see white evangelicals. This is in 2016. Only 34% of white evangelicals believe that homosexuality should be adopted. So that's still kind of scary. Catholics, they're doing better, I guess. 66. Unaffiliated, 80%. So I thought atheists would be like the most better about that homosexuality, because they don't have anything to hate them with. Because most people hate gays for religious reasons, or just they don't like the concept of gay sex, and they think it's ooey. So that was a little fun poll. A vast majority of Muslim Americans say immigrants shrink in the U.S. I'm looking at 2017, 79%. Ooh, that's probably more than most white people. I don't know. So that was some fun statistics, I guess. If you're into that, stay tuned for more content, I guess.
What is religious freedom? Why is it important? And why is it now under threat? Hold on a second.
Well, religious freedom is the ideology of you're allowed to believe or disbelieve whichever religion you want. You're allowed to practice or not practice whichever religion you want. It doesn't matter. Basically, it's a very libertarian concept of whatever you want as long as you don't hurt anybody. So that is religious freedom. And why is it important? Well, why would you give the government the power to dictate religion? I mean, that happened in the Soviet Union with, because they wanted an atheistic country. And it also happened in medieval Europe because they wanted a Christian country. And Saddam Hussein's Iraq was a Sunni Muslim minority was in power, since Saddam Hussein was a Sunni Muslim, and 80% of Iraqis were Shia. So Saddam liked the Sunni part, and he oppressed the Shia Muslims, since Islam is divided into two.
Freedom in the United States. You can be a Protestant, Catholic, a Jew, a Muslim, or a Wiccan. You can believe in anything or nothing. This was true, but not anymore.
Religious freedom is doing better, like, in America than any other time in American history, at least in my opinion, because stuff like gay marriage is way more accepted from society than it used to be. And gay people are only allowed to be married in 2013. That's half my lifetime, okay? Let that sink into you.
Seems like almost every week a new dispute arises between people of faith and government agencies alleging that believers are violating the rights of non-believers or simply violating government edicts. Given that the search for religious freedom was central to the founding of America, this is quite a reversal.
The founding of America is no taxation without representation, but I guess I can see some religious freedom and free speech stuff in there. I personally would argue it's more representation without taxation, but I can understand why somebody would think religious and freedom. Also, how are non-believers the one oppressing the Christians? In fact, last time I checked, gay marriage was illegal till 2013, and it's not atheists who are talking about illegalizing gay marriage. It's mostly Christians, so there's that.
As Thomas Paine put it in his influential 1776 pamphlet, Common Sense, this new world hath been the asylum for the persecuted lovers of civil and religious liberty from every part of Europe. It wasn't an accident that the first freedom listed in the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, is about religious liberty. Here's what it says. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. This meant the new United States.
Well, last time I checked, it's Republicans who are trying to enforce Christianity on people, but oh well, I mean, that every time I hear these arguments, like pro-life arguments, are like, what about God? Okay, I don't like that argument. Religious freedom, also, kind of the same with gay marriage, not to an extent though. Keep in mind, birth control was illegal for quite a while.
This meant the new United States would have no government-sponsored religion, as Europe had at the time, and no restrictions on how you practiced your religion. British historian Paul Johnson draws a stark and telling contrast between the two great revolutions of the 18th century. The essential difference between the American Revolution and the French Revolution is that the American Revolution, in its origins, was a religious event, whereas the French Revolution was an anti-religious event. That fact was to shape the American Revolution and determine the nature of the independent state it brought into being. Now, 2 centuries after the Bill of Rights, freedom of religion, one of the main goals of the American Revolution, has morphed into freedom from religion, one of the main goals of the French Revolution. That's not what any American should.
Freedom from religion? Yeah, that's a good thing. Freedom from religion and freedom for religion. You have the freedom to practice religion or not practice religion however you want. Freedom from religion is freedom from not being religious, which is fine. And you can also be religious, that's also fine, okay? So, atheist existing is not offensive, okay? Boom. Checkmate, liberals. The French Revolution was a class struggle, basically. It's where the French monarchy was, living it up, eating cake and having big palaces like the Palace of Versailles, while the French peasants were all mad at the fact that they were starving to death and they overthrew the government. And the American Revolution was the people versus the rich or the monarchy in Britain, right? So there's your history lesson for you, pooper you.
Here's why. Because when they come for your religious freedom, they're coming for all of your freedom. It's the totalitarian tell, the giveaway. This is what the founders understood and why they were so insistent that religious liberty be in the Constitution. To them, freedom of liberty was tantamount to freedom of thought. If you aren't free to think as you wish, you can't claim to be free. They were right. There is no example in history of a regime suppressing religious freedom and not suppressing other freedoms. One of the first things the communists did in Russia after the Russian Revolution in 1917 was to close nearly every church and take control of all religious life in the Soviet Union, Christian, Jewish, and Muslim. To this day, all religious life in China is strictly controlled by the Chinese Communist government. Why do repressive governments fear religious freedom? Because it challenges the authority of the state more than any other freedom. People who adhere to a religion believe that there's something higher than the state, and no repressive government can tolerate such a belief. That makes religion the first target of those who want ever more power and ever more control over its citizens. That's why, even if you're not religious, if you care about freedom, you should care deeply about religious liberty. My job is to protect religious liberty, and let me tell you, the trends are troubling. 8 years ago, my caseload was 47. Last year, it was over 300.
300 what? Also, the left isn't coming for your religion. Please stop. That is cringe. And it's also Goddaddy Trump who enacted the Muslim ban. No, I guess the Muslim travel ban. So remember that, you little cringe face. That was not funny. I'm sorry. That was not a funny joke.
8 years ago, my caseload was 47. Last year, it was over 300. Here are some recent examples. Bremerton, Washington high school football coach Joe Kennedy was first suspended and then fired for going to a knee after a football game to say a brief, silent prayer. A 3-judge panel for the Ninth Circuit Federal Court of Appeals concluded that because Coach Kennedy could be seen engaging in religious expression by students and fans, the school had the right to fire him. The city of Houston is attempting to ban a small Orthodox Jewish community from worshiping in the home of its rabbi. Given that the neighborhood includes a rehab house, a Ghanaian church, and an East Indian cultural center, the city's action is hard to fathom. A peace cross in Bladensburg, Maryland has stood for almost 100 years in honor of 49 young men who died fighting in World War I. Yet in 2017, a court ordered the cross to be torn down. One judge offered a novel compromise. She suggested we chop the arms off the cross to make it less offensive. Fortunately, we won that case 7-2 at the United States Supreme Court, and that cross is still standing. America is also still standing.
Number one, America is barely still standing. Okay. Number two, the 3 things you mentioned, like 2 out of 3 of them, the quote-unquote anti-religious people weren't even successful with getting the person fired or whatnot. The only time they won is when they got that coach fired, which is actually bad, okay? Because he's allowed to have his religion. One thing about religion in the state is that politicians will pander to the main religion, okay? I mean, look at Nazi Germany. Hitler said he was Christian. Do you really think Hitler was praying to God? No, I don't think so. Vladimir Putin, the guy who orders the deaths of journalists who criticize the government, he says he's Orthodox Christian. Do you think he prays to God? No. Politicians, they act like they're super religious to the point where Hillary Clinton only supported legalizing gay marriage till 2013, okay? And really every politician only supported it till 2013, was against it till 2013, except Bernie Sanders in the 1970s. So there's that argument.
But it won't be for much longer. Not as the free country the founders envisioned, if we don't take these threats to religious freedom seriously. The great historian of post-revolutionary America, Alexis de Tocqueville, understood this very well. When men attack religious beliefs, they are following their emotions, not their interest. Tyranny may be able to do without faith, but freedom cannot. I'm Kelly Shackelford, president of First Liberty for Prager University.
What do they mean by attacking religious beliefs? Like, oh, I personally disagree with it, or I'm gonna kill you if you believe in Jesus, bro, or something. Let's see. Tyranny can't do with faith. I mean, Nazi Germany was a very Christian country, So does Vladimir Putin's Russia. I get those on the same level of authoritarian. Yeah, politicians, they pander to the religious people, right? Because, I just went over that, so go watch that again if you don't remember.
What's happening in our schools? Colleges have become leftist indoctrination centers. It's not a new problem. It's been going on for decades, first behind the scenes and now out front. That's how radical change happens. It creeps up on us. And when we finally figure out what's going on, it's too late. What's been happening on college campuses is now happening in elementary schools and high schools. I know. I'm a mom of 2 school-aged kids. I've seen it with my own eyes. More and more parents are seeing it too. Thanks to the lockdowns and Zoom, we're getting a window into our children's classes. It's not a pretty picture. Kids, really young kids, are being taught stuff so radical, so devoid of what real education is, it should alarm us all. Examples. Recently, Chicago Public Schools adopted an American history curriculum based on the 1619 Project published and promoted by the New York Times. The 1619 Project asserts that America's founding was not marked by the Declaration of Independence in 1776, but the arrival of the first African slaves in Jamestown in 1619. Historians from across the political spectrum have denounced this as a giant lie. The New York Times has walked back many of the project's original claims. Still, this malicious slander of America is now being taught in schools as truth. And what is that truth? That America is, was, and always has been a fundamentally racist country, and that white Americans today bear responsibility for all current and historic racism. This bleeds perfectly into another educational debacle: diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, this might sound
If the Suez Canal is blocked, the economy will be oofed and fricked, okay? First of all, the Suez Canal is very important. It's the gateway from Asia to Europe, okay? And it being blocked is bad, okay. Also, the reason America was founded was because, the Europe was like, oh yeah, we gotta get those spices from India. Then the Ottoman Empire was butthurt about something, so they closed off the Suez Canal, and then Europe had to go around. Portugal decided to go around Africa, and then Christopher Columbus went to Spain, and he's like, what if we go around the world? And they thought that was an okay idea, and they tried it, and they found America. Also, yeah, the Suez Canal is very important, and it should not be clogged, okay? Y'all, man, it's me, Billy Bob, and you better subscribe to the Blob and Camera TV, y'all.